Yes. Well, I'm just having a nice chat there with the president. We could officially say president now. Up until Wednesday, it was president-elect because the actual ceremony took place. So officially with me, the President General of the National Union of Government and Federated Workers. We saw via the newspaper, The Guardian report this week when the result was officially announced. The atmosphere on Henry Street was, as The Guardian put it, quote-unquote carnival-like. People were in a jubilant mood with the particular result, and indeed we congratulate President Streete. Obviously lots of work ahead, but indeed we'll get into that discussion momentarily. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me, and let me take the opportunity again to thank the membership of the NUGFW for their support for my team, and my intention is really to deliver what we would have promised.
Well, I mean, we're looking at a leadership of 16 years under the stewardship of James Lambert, and I would imagine after such a long time at the helm, it seems the mandate from the members was for something new, a fresh direction. Walk me through the election process first in terms of the process. Well, I guess just to find out, as all elections, was it fair? Any discrepancies at all? Was it held when it was constitutionally due? Just walk me through the election process first.
Right. The election was constitutionally due in 2023.
Oh.
However, the former President General, James Lambert, would have come to the executive and asked for an extension.
Any reason for that?
He said because of the COVID-19, some of the areas in the union, they were granted an extension of 1 year, like the sections and the branches and so on. And he says also that the finances of the organization at that time didn't allow for the hosting of the election, because you know elections are a very expensive process. And the Congress, because we had to call a special Congress, and the Congress did agree and say, okay, we would allow a 1 year extension to the current executive, right? Having done that, then the Congress would have also mandated that the election be held this year. The process is that constitutionally, we have to be in office for 4 years. That is the mandate of the Constitution. And to kick off that, we have a number of activities that leads up to the actual election. The General Council have to call and name the date for the election and so on. And then we have nomination day, where prospective members of the union would come forward and place themselves for election.
Okay.
One of the requirements to contest the election, you must be a member of the union for at least 3 years, and a non-financial member or a financial member for at least 2 years prior to the election.
Understood.
Yes.
You know, you mentioned finances, and I recognize that your first order of business is to put the books in order, to do a forensic audit, as they put it.
Yes.
Now, granted, you are president now, but prior to your role as president, you were former first deputy president.
Correct.
You didn't have access? You didn't know what was happening behind the scenes? I want to find out, like, why this is the first order of business. Granted, you were already also in a position of leadership.
We were very concerned about the activities of the former president and the former administration, the way in which the union operates. There is a National Executive Committee, which we are, and there is a National General Council. But then there is a day-to-day administration of the organization, of which only the President General, the General Secretary, they are the ones who carry the daily activities of the union. They have a duty and a responsibility. They are mandated to call a National Executive Committee meeting at least once per month, so that they can report to the National Executive Committee. They can seek approval for certain things concerning the union, you know, but that fell down. In fact, the former President General, and to quote him, I know the book which is the Constitution, says we should have a meeting once a month. But me, I like so much old talk, you know. So he considered a meeting of the National Executive Committee as old talk, and not the place, not the forum, not the constitutional apparatus, so that he and his administration to account and get approval and directive from the National Executive Committee. And I think this action by him for a while would have prompted us, and I'm not just the first deputy and the person who would have challenged him. There are several members of that National Executive Committee. Some are on board. Comrade Simpson, as we said, is the Deputy President General. He was part of that committee. Comrade Ramesh Sukhdeo, who is the current General Secretary, he was the first deputy. So several of us couldn't tolerate and go along with that kind of action, and therefore we decided there's no choice but to contest and remove that leadership.
So in that regard, President General, if there are discrepancies when this audit is conducted, what's the disciplinary framework under your constitution?
Yeah, well, my constitution speaks to discipline from the normal member, the ordinary member, straight up to the leadership of the organization. So it is contained in our constitution.
Understood.
Yeah.